Let's learn how to influence Dr and Bdr election in an OSPF broadcast network. In the previous lesson, we configure OSPF on all three routers, and we also learned that this is a broadcast network. Therefore, the routers elected a DR and a BDR. So how the DR and the BDR got elected? They are elected based on the following values. The first value is the interface priority value. For example, if we configure the priority value on all the interfaces of the routers with the value ranging from 0 to 255. So the one with the highest interface priority value will become the DR, and the second to the highest will become the BDR. If we do not configure the priority value, so the default value is 1. And if we configure the priority value of 0, it means we remove the router from the DR and BDR election process. So what if the priority value ties? In that case, the router with the highest OSPF router ID will win the election. There's several things to note. The election process happens at the startup and there is no preemption. For example, if we configure IT Life Skill Router 1 first, it will become the DR. And then if we configure IT Life Skill Router 2 later, it will become the BDR. All the other routers that we configure after that will become the other routers. However, if we restart all the routers after the configuration, then the election process begins. When the DR is failed, the BDR will take over and one of the other routers will become BDR. Now that we know how DR-BDR election process works, we can influence DR and BDR election using priority. To do that, at the router configuration mode, we issue the command interface, then we provide the interface information, then hit enter. It will bring us into the interface configuration mode, then we issue the command IP OSPF priority, then we provide the priority value, then hit enter. We will then reset the OSPF process to see if it makes the routers to re-elect DR and BDR again. To do that, at the router private mode, we issue the command clear IP OSPF process, then hit enter. Here we are at the IT Life Skill Router 1 private mode. Let's check the DR and BDR status by using the command show IP OSPF neighbor. As you can see, router 3 is the DR because it has the highest router ID, and router 2 is the BDR because it has the second to the highest router ID. Let's go to the configuration mode and then go to the interface E21, and then we issue the command IP OSPF priority. As you may remember, the default OSPF priority is 1, so if we configure the value of 2, it will make router 1 become the DR. So let's put in 2, then hit enter. Now let's exit out of this and then check the DR and BDR status again. As you can see, router 3 is still the DR and router 2 is still the BDR because there is no preemption in DR and BDR election. So let's reset the OSPF process by using the command clear IP OSPF process to see if it will make all the routers to re-elect DR and BDR again. As you can see, the OSPF process get restarted. So let's verify the DR and BDR status by using the same command show IP OSPF neighbor. So as you can see, router 3 is still the DR and router 2 is still the BDR, which means we have to restart all the routers for the DR and BDR election process to begin. Now let's reboot all 3 routers to make them elect DR and BDR. After the rebooting process finishes, we will use the command show IP OSPF neighbor to verify the DR and BDR status. After that, we will use the command show IP OSPF interface brief to verify router 1 is the DR. And then we will use the command show IP OSPF interface for only the interface E21 to see the detail. And finally, we will use the command show run and we filter for the section interface to verify the priority value. As you can see, the rebooting process has just finished and we see router 1 form the neighborship with router 3 and router 2. Let's use the command show IP OSPF neighbor to verify the DR and BDR status between router 1 and other routers. As you can see, router 1 formed the neighborship with router 2 and router 2 state is the other. And it also formed the neighborship with router 3 and router 3 state is BDR. And the neighborship formed on the interface E21. So it usually means that on the interface E21, router 1 is the DR, because in this case there's only 3 routers. Let's verify by using the command show IP OSPF interface brief. This will tell us the status of router 1 on the interface E21. Router 1 is the DR. Now let's use the command show IP OSPF interface E21. As you can see, this command tells us the designated router is router 1 and it has 2 neighbors, router 2 and router 3. Router 3 is the BDR. Now let's use the command show run and then we will filter for the section interface to verify the priority value that we configure. As you can see on the interface E21, the priority value is 2, which makes router 1 becomes the DR. Let's now talk about the neighborship status in a broadcast network. As you may know, routers discover their neighbors by sending OSPF hellos to the multicast address 224.0.0.5 until a DR and a BDR are elected and other routers become the others. This table lists the neighborship status in detail between DR, BDR, and the other routers. In summary, DR and BDR become fully adjacent neighbors with other routers, and the other routers form two-way relationship with the other's routers. After the neighborship has formed among the routers, if the DR or the BDR has an update, it will send the update to the all OSPF router's multicast address 224.0.0.5, and if a DR the router has an update, it will send the update to both DR and BDR routers via the all OSPF DR's multicast address 224.0.0.6. After receiving the update, the DR will send the updates to each of the other routers. For example, if IT Life Skill Router 3 has an update, it will send the update to the multicast address 224.0.0.6. The update will then be forwarded to both DR and BDR routers. After receiving the update, the IT Life Skill Router 1, which is the DR, will send the update to each of the other routers like this. Let's read the keynotes for this lesson. This is the end of this lesson. If you have any questions, please put it in the comment section. Thank you very much for watching.